Chapter 35 is another temporary educational benefit, right? That will create an additional income stream. I'm going to give the dollar amount. It's $1,488 per month. Imagine a situation where many of us have children. Many of those children end up staying in the home after they graduate high school for a couple years. It's very expensive out there. And maybe they're trying to get a higher level of education so they can land a good job. Maybe they're working a part-time job. They're trying to wrap up a bachelor's degree or what have you. So imagine if you were in that situation and you were able to have your spouse do some school online, driving in $1,488 per month. Have your dependent child also bringing in $1,488 a month into the household, right? So this is household income. That means they're not asking you for, hey, dad or mom, can I borrow $100 to do this? No, you got $1,488. You go, right? So I'd love to hear your thoughts, Randy, on the Chapter 35 benefit. I know you already mentioned that it's not that well known. Hopefully, we can help push out that information a little more. To you, Randy.
Yeah, I'm going to give a little anecdote here from, a friend of mine. So my kids are not quite at college yet. They're starting to work their way through high school and just before high school. But I have a good buddy, and his son is going into his senior year and is considering post-high school options. And so he's called me for some advice. His son had expressed some interest in the Air Force Academy. So I talked him through what I knew about that a little bit and some of the other service academies, some other options like ROTC that are out there. But the one thing that he mentioned and was it was surprising is how expensive school is now for young people going to college. Sure, there's some grants. You might be able to get a little bit of help with, some offsets against tuition. But if you're a civilian walking in off of the street writing a check, it is nothing like it was 25 or 30 years ago. Education has exceeded inflation year over year. Higher education, that is, in some cases by like an order of magnitude. It's really horrible. And he and I were kind of talking about some of the things that we're planning to do to fund our kids, educations. And he was just amazed at I said, hey, out there in the VA world, here's some of the things that I'm going to explore. I don't know if they'll necessarily apply to me. We did talk about Chapter 35 a little bit. And he was like, man, if I could have an extra, I'll round it up to $1,500 a month to be able to help my son as he gets ready to go to college, that would be a game changer for my family, because we're going to be writing a huge check each month, and it's going to be really financially difficult. So I encourage you again to look at Chapter 35. It may not apply. You do have to hit that 100% threshold. And so that's not going to be for everybody, but there are other things like what Chris brought up, tuition waivers. A lot of these benefits get left on the table. Jason, you've done episodes, over at Veterans InfoTap on this. You put out some great information. I've watched them. If you haven't, check out his other channel. It's so important that we don't leave benefits on the table, and the numbers are staggering. You wonder why guys like us do shows, in our spare time to try to get the word out, is because the amount of benefits that are left on the table is just, it's actually beyond staggering. It's almost heartbreaking. Education's a big piece of it. So, Chris, I've been rambling. Over to you, buddy.
That ain't rambling, dude. That you speaking the truth, man. I got one that just graduated, one that's in, and they both have gone to great schools that are state schools in California that are reasonable compared to what most people are paying. And, they get you every which way from Sunday because, the tuition's not inexpensive. The books aren't inexpensive, even though they're all pretty much virtual now. The housing is through the roof. Food, as we all know, food has gotten ridiculously expensive. And then they hit you up with these, they're on the quarter system with these quarterly fees that pay for all the upgrades to the campus and all the things that most of them really don't use. So, and then on top of that, they play sports, and then we're playing club and intramural sports, and then there's fees for that. And then of course they join the ski club, and there's fees for that. So it is absolutely insane on how expensive college is these days. And any little bit that you've earned, you just can't do not throw it away. And the only reason why I figured out the fee waivers, because I had a friend of mine who I served with who had older kids, and one of his kids ended up going to San Jose State, and she was my babysitter for a little bit and told me about it. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. And then I tell everybody I can, and I have friends who they basically lost almost 60% of their hearing from either being in a tank or being in a hovercraft, and these are folks that were like me that said, the Army was great to me, and I just am not going to pursue it until you realize that no, this is all part of the package of what you served for. This is not taking advantage of anything. This is getting the services that you've earned by throwing the uniform on, right? So please look into this stuff. And I know it's challenging, and I've learned new things every single day. And if I didn't connect up with these two guys, I'd still be in the dark on so many things. So take heed. It is not inexpensive.
Right. I'm going to double down on what Chris was saying, because I think it's important. There are many people out there that go, you know what, this is what I signed up for. It's some of these little quirky things that I got going on with me, whatever, I knew what I was getting into, otherwise I wouldn't have joined, whatever, save it for somebody else. Wrong attitude. If you would have went to any other employer in the world, and that employer said to you, hey, you put in a good solid 4 years with us, we're going to give you all these, we're going to give you free stock, right? And it's not even stock option. You don't even need to exercise. Like, you're going to be fully vested in X dollars of stock. And then you did your 4 years, and then you were leaving the company for another job, and you said, no, I don't need that $2 million worth of stock. Don't worry about it. You can keep it. My pleasure. No, you wouldn't. So don't leave this on the table. Sure, it's not just a big sack of money, but effectively it is. Pay down in monthly payments, pay down in other benefits, pay down on medical expenses you may have had. So there's just so much there that, again, we can't leave on the table. And one of my favorite things is hearing people say, save it for somebody else. You are that somebody else. And if you don't use it, we're going to lose it. We need to continue to be utilizing the benefits that we earned.